Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Solved, where we bring um, renowned guests, people in leadership, to come and talk about challenges in the human capital world today. Today, we have with us Jay Suggs, who is the Senior Director of Business Development at Johnson Controls. Jay has a unique perspective on on life itself in general, and with respect to work, he also believes work is both a gift and an opportunity. So, without taking much time, I'm going to start the podcast. And Jay, thanks so much for joining us today.
Andrew, thank you. I would just like to say you're my new best friend. You can always do this, Andrew.
All right,
Let's
all
just
day.
start strawberry shortcake, my friend. Strawberry shortcake. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you going to be comfortable eating that as we talk?
I'm gonna make it work.
Okay.
We gonna make it work. Yes, yes. But thank you. Very,
All
very.
right, you're welcome. Great. I have my favorite yogurt here with me, so I'm going to be sharing that with you
That's not fair. Yogurt. Come on.
just for today. Okay, so Jay, to begin with, work is both a gift and an opportunity. Do you agree? Disagree?
I agree 100%. I'll tell you why.
Okay,
Every experience that you encounter is a part of the journey, right? So it
that's right.
doesn't matter what your role is, your position is. It doesn't even matter what your wage or your compensation is. I can guarantee you, for every job that you've had, it'll bring you closer and closer to your purpose and understanding your strengths, your gifts, gaps where you need more improvement, and it'll give you more insight and perspective as you keep pushing along as you're trying to understand this, I like to call business cycle of who you are as a professional. I think there's a misconception that there's not a correlation between business and life. That can be further from the truth. Who you are in life and who you are in business is a symbiotic relationship. It's a vibrational mirror. It works. So, for example, how you work in a position, your work ethic, your dedication, your focus, you take that same drive and you apply it to your life. It could be chores at home, wanting to own a home, being a parent. All those approaches and methodologies are intertwined. There's no need to have duality when you're working or you're living your life. It's all the same. It's all the same.
Very interesting you said that. So you don't see this at the beginning of your journey.
No, not at
You
all.
got each job you have, the picture starts getting clearer.
100%. I think
100%. Agree.
100%. Here's the thing about a career journey, it evolves continuously because you evolve. Who you were today is not who you're going to be in 12 months or you're not even 6 months. Even if you have a bad job experience, I can guarantee you that adds to the story. You know why? Because that tells you what you don't want, and you're trying to figure out what it is you do want. So when I talk to individuals and I'm coaching and I'm mentoring them, and they're explaining to me the frustration they're having in their current position, it's a gift. Even adversity and challenges is a gift because it's helping you understand and build your core values. You know what? I don't want to do this particular thing. This particular job that I have is not really what excites me or sets my soul on fire. So maybe I need to adjust the plan. Maybe I need to become a little more agile. So, good, bad, or indifferent, you're still winning because you're gaining insight. Without insight, there's no clarity. Without insight, there's no clarity. And it's interesting when people say to me, "Well, Jay, I want to be promoted. I want to go into leadership." And I ask them why. It's usually, "Oh, I want more money." You're not clear on what you really want. See, compensation is an outcome, but it's not the purpose. Why do you want to be a leader? Do you like serving people? Do you want to create strategies and ideas that can make a team feel stronger and have a more robust understanding of how to increase the betterment for clients in the organization you work for. You have to ask yourselves very empowering questions. And you can't expect an organization to give you the answers.
Hmm.
You have to ask those questions to yourself. Why do I want to be a leader? Or why do I
Right.
want this?
Right. So most of the work is done at your end. Don't expect the organization to complete the loop for you. This is your journey, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Listen, any organization is a baseline, right? An
Uh-huh.
organization can be a catalyst to the journey, but you're the director, the screenwriter, the leading actor in your own story. We believe the stories that we tell ourselves. So make sure you're telling yourself the story that shows, even though you're going to have a multitude of challenges, there is going to be a happy ending. If I told you what I wanted to be in my career and where I am now is like this. I thought I was going to be the next Denzel Washington. I wanted to be an actor, Andrew. I am in corporate America right now. Doesn't seem like the same path, right? But let me tell you what I realized about myself. Creative. I love people. I want to see people win. I'm a troubleshooter when it comes to situational scenarios that requires ideas and purpose. I inspire, I influence, and I rally. I know those superpowers. However, I wouldn't know my superpowers or know my strengths if I did not have positions and jobs where I didn't like them. I didn't experience things in jobs where I was like, you know what, this is not a right fit for me, or this is not the direction I want to go into. You're always going to win, no matter what your current situation is in that position or that job that you hold. You're always going to win because you're going to gain perspective. You're always
Hmm.
going to, and that perspective gets you closer to what your purpose is.
Great. These are words of gold.
Appreciate
I should frame them somewhere.
it. Appreciate it. Hey, words of gold, and my stomach is getting full. How about
Can get better.
that?
So you did mention again, it's about everybody winning. As a leader, how do you build that authenticity within the team that you're out for them? You have their best interest in mind. I mean, everybody sees that. It's very hard to live it out and very hard to make your team believe that. So, can you throw some light into this, some actionable tips maybe, or how do you develop this culture within the team?
All right. So let me just say this, Andrew. This is going to be a bold statement.
Okay.
The day of the manager is gone.
Hmm.
The day of the manager is gone. In this current business climate, you have to be a leader. You have to be the broker of hope, even when you feel hopeless. There's a lot of internal challenges and external challenges that affect how we do our jobs. But you, as the leader, have to exhibit the behavior that you want your team to model. When you think of a team, you have to think of building a community, strengthening camaraderie, and having compassion. When I was a sales leader in New York City a few years back, I created a mantra for the team. I said, we all eat. What that really meant was, for the betterment of the organization and ourselves, we're going to collaboratively work together to make sure that we're providing the solutions to our customers, but we're also going to make sure that we don't feel slighted. So at the end of every meeting, I would say, we all going to eat, and they will repeat that. So as leaders, you have to create a mantra for your team that builds the morale and the feeling behind your team and the purpose. People want to feel a part of something larger than themselves, Andrew. Not just about the money. It's not just about the roles and the positions. You have to give them something to believe in. And it's not you, but it's believing in the belief that
Hmm.
together, no matter what challenges we have our way, we're going to work together, we're going to collaborate, and we're going to figure it out. You have to be the broker of hope.
Love that. What do you think is the biggest challenge leaders face today when it comes to mobilizing, motivating, and inspiring talent?
I think the challenge is as leaders, we don't look inward enough.
Hmm.
We give a lot of we provide a lot of directives based on what is the need of that business, but everyone receives information differently. We're all cut from a different cloth. Winning to you might look different to me, right? So that's when you have to come from a place of empathy, and that takes a lot of hard work. You have to ask certain questions. You have to have uncomfortable conversations. You have to elevate the dialogue. You have to work from a place of how can I best understand where this person is in this position on my team and what are their gifts? What makes them get up every morning doing what they do? When I conduct interviews, Andrew, I go through the resume, I look at the timeline, the standard sequence thing, but I really want to know, who are you? Why do you do what you do? Why are you in front of me today? What matters? I get it. We all have expenses and we got to cover that, right? That's the grown up stuff. But who are you at your core? What motivates you? What sets your soul on fire? What matters to you? The people that you're responsible for, if you have a family, what does that mean to you? So I think the challenge that leaders are having is that they're not asking the right questions. Give directives thinking it's going to be received the same way by each and every employee. Your employees are individuals, and these individuals are wired and programmed based on their backgrounds, their experiences, right? And you have to have an extra type of depth in your conversation. Here's the thing, too: not every message that you put forth is for the group, is for the team. You have to have two sets of conversations. I call it, you got to do the rally cry, right, for the group. And then you have to have your individual one on ones to understand each and every person on your team and what their understanding is, what their expectations are, what their skill sets are. I'll say this again, what their superpowers are. That's how you start to infuse the confidence into your team. So you got to think present state, future state. So when you look at your team, you look at your team as a whole, and then you look at your team as the individuals, because as they evolve and get stronger, the group evolves and gets stronger.
Very well said. So, as a leader, you got to take the time to know your people, personalize
Absolutely.
attention. You got to get to the core. And most leaders don't do that. They don't have time for that. It's about goals and objectives most of the time. It's not about empathy, like you said, which is a very important leadership quality.
You think about it like this. What if you can show up each and every day as your full authentic self? Right? Because it's got to be pretty exhausting to pretend to be someone that you're not 8 hours a day.
That's
What if
right.
what if you work in an environment where you could show up each and every day as your full authentic self? You don't have to have a facade. You don't have to wear the fake mask or the fake armor. Do you realize how much productivity you can get out of an individual? Imagine, right? There's nothing to hide. You're fully yourself. You're fully accepted. That's why here at Johnson Controls, what we embody here is that we appreciate creativity, individuality, that uniqueness, that je ne sais quoi that makes you you. We embrace that here. So it's very important to understand. You want to get the best out of people, understand who they are as individuals. And here's another thing. Someone asked me the other day, Andrew, you know, what's this diversity thing all about? Like, what's the importance of it? I said, how about this? I can guarantee you, the more diverse your team is, the better chances you're going to hit your goals, because you no longer have a singular narrative to get there. You have a multitude of superpowers of individuals with their experiences and skill sets to get you there. You're not going to be flat. You're going to, if the more diverse your team is, the more successful you are.
That's
Guaranteed.
wow.
I'm living proof of it. I've seen it.
Is that just with Johnson Controls or your previous organizations as well?
I would say currently at Johnson Controls, I've been with the organization for a decade. So what I've seen is I've worked with a diverse group of individuals, not even just based on ethnicity or gender, or what you identify as. Let's just talk about experiences, right? A 30-year-old employee can have a different experience than, let's say, a 50-year-old employee. But imagine if they work together, right? their different perspectives and their different insights create something which is innovation, right? That's what innovation is. It's a collective of ideas and experiences of individuals challenging each other for the better good or for whatever that product or solution is. So the more your team is diverse, you have a very, very high probable chance of hitting your goals.
Wow. And this applies across disciplines. Doesn't matter if it's sales, marketing, operations. It's
Doesn't
can you call it a thumb rule?
No, it
Rule of
doesn't
law.
matter. It doesn't matter what platform it's on because the more you think about it like this, as I said before, you no longer have that single narrative, but you also have all these amazing different insights and perspectives. And what clarity really is understanding that not everything is linear. That's what clarity is. Clarity is not a destination. Clarity is not like a clock, there's a clock on the wall. Clarity is the single understanding that together we just figured something out.
Wow.
And then that's where the magic happens. That's where the magic happens.
Wow. You said something very, very interesting last time. You said it's not right to say I'm underutilized.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Here's
did you come up with this? Yeah.
Because you got to treat yourself like a rare commodity because nobody else will. You have to
Mm,
invest in yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. If you're being underutilized, you need to raise your hand.
mm,
But here's the thing, there's a difference between the term being underutilized and you not positioning yourself to have the visibility to show that you have a talent where the efforts can redefine the role. Let me explain. A job description is a baseline. It is not law. I have never taken a position in my entire career and went by the job description. I understood what the framework of the position was, but I said, how do I redefine that role in my vision where it embodies me, but at the same time, it produces what that organization wants? You have to redefine the roles. Stop using job descriptions as a crutch. It is not a crutch. It's just a baseline. You see areas where you can improve that can help that position or help that department, then you do it. Redefine
mm.
the role.
That's right. Very well said.
Yeah, redefine the role.
Jay, I'm going to ask you a question. This is in context to what you said last time. And you spoke about leaders being vulnerable inside, leading authentically. And you have to expose that side of vulnerability sometimes. In that context, have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome as a
Absolutely.
leader?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In the beginning of my career, my leadership career,
Hmm,
you know, let's just say under I know what not to do. It was the what to do I had to learn.
hmm,
Right. And in the beginning, you have this preconceived notion of how a leader should lead, right? You stay in the
hmm,
corner office, you keep your door closed, you give out all this, like on TV. But the minute I realized that vulnerability was a strength, the minute I realized I could say to my team, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I'll tell you this, I'll work hard to figure out what we can do. The minute I said, hey, I'm just as frustrated as you of whatever's happening externally or internally. Now you're a human manager and not a micromanager. Now your employees and your team are connecting with you because now you're not this person on a pedestal. You're just like them, but you're tasked with the role of serving them. Leadership is a serving role. It's not about power. It's about influencing and positioning and inspiring and rallying. But it's not about power when you're a leader. So I think a lot of in this business client people are dealing with the imposter syndrome because they're not doing the work inwardly. They're not asking themselves the real questions. Why do I feel uncomfortable? Why do I feel nervous when I'm speaking in front of these individuals? I can honestly say where I'm at in my career right now, Andrew, I'm 100% very comfortable with Jay Suggs. But it wasn't easy. It took a journey, right? I failed a lot. I failed a lot, but I'm very comfortable in who I am and what I bring to the table. And there's nobody on this planet designed like you. No one has your style, your flow, your swag, your je ne sais quoi, right? No one on this planet is designed like you. So you bring something to the table, and you need to believe that you bring something to the table. And I think when we talk about imposter syndrome, what we really need to talk about is individuals understanding their worth. Your worth is not tied to your title or your position or how much money you make. Your worth is tied to your core values and what matters to you. There's no difference in business and life. Your worth is tied to your core values and who you are and what matters. So when you think about this whole imposter syndrome thing, the question is, what are you worth to yourself?
These are some very insightful nuggets. Very, very insightful.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Jay. Have last couple of questions.
Sure.
What are the top three things you look for in a candidate when you interview them, when you talk to them? What do you look for in them? What do you try to find before you
My,
decide to hire them?
my grandmother used to have this saying. She used to say, conviction is contagious. So for me, it's about your energy because people will close on your energy before they close any deal. So for me, the first thing I need is energy, the tonality in your voice, the depth in the words that you're saying. I need to hear a story. I need to understand why are you in front of me now. I need to know what the journey's been, and I need to know what matters to you. Another thing I look for is I like when candidates interview me just as much as I'm interviewing them. Blows me away. I love when a candidate says, "Why do you stay here at Johnson Controls?" Wow, that's an amazing question because that tells me you operate at a higher level of emotional intelligence and you're thinking if this is the organization for you in regards to a culture fit and you want to know why I stay because you need to understand what the culture is about and what's important. I would say the third thing I look for, it's pretty simple, is your delivery kind. I don't I don't matter. It doesn't bravado doesn't matter to me. Egocentric doesn't matter to me. Is your delivery kind? Are you an individual I can have a conversation with? Because I need to know if you're going to have those same conversations with our customers in that way. Um, I think sometimes when individuals interview, they get so nervous that they think it's their audition and they got to just go real hard and they got to pitch like it's American Idol. No, let's have a conversation. I start all my interviews off with, "Hey, this is just a conversation," right? And I also inform people if you're not chosen for this job, that's not a bad thing. There's no accidents in life. Our paths cross for a reason. Two things are going to happen. We'll meet again, and you learn something from this interview, either about the organization, about yourself, or what do you need to do next time for the next interview. You're always learning and you're always winning. It's just the way you look at it.
Wow, very useful. Very useful. And most of the roles you recruit for must be people from a sales background, right? So they know how to talk.
Sales background, engineering background. And here's a misconception though. Not all sales professionals are extroverts. There's introverts out there. For me, it's really about diversification of experiences and backgrounds and superpowers. I am a student of human behavior. Um, if I hired everyone that was just like me, that would probably be a little crazy. You know what I mean? So when you're trying to put your team together, look at it like as if it's a puzzle, right? You got to figure out what spaces and parts that you're trying to bring together to bring that cohesiveness.
Right, right, right. Wonderful. Today is a very challenging environment when it comes to productivity.
Yeah,
They talk about a paradigm shift of power from the employer to the employee,
yeah.
remote work, labor shortage, comp, and so many. What is probably the most one single most important thing a leader can do to not just empower the team? You did speak about looking in the inside and being authentic, but do you is that the single most important thing a leader can do to run a successful team today, a highly productive, high performing team today?
It's one of the components, but the most important thing a leader can do is listen. Listen to the feedback. Feedback is not always criticism. Feedback is not always a complaint. Feedback is the pulse of what's happening out in the marketplace where you may not really be connected to it because you're so far removed because of your responsibilities. So trust the feedback of your team. It keeps you closer to I like to call it keeps you closer to the pulse to the streets of what's happening. So listen. And when you're listening, don't become defensive. Receive the information. Feedback is only it's only considered criticizing if you're not open. You can't internalize feedback and criticism. You have to listen to it almost as if you're an analyst, right? Some of the feedback makes sense. Some of the feedback, I don't know if that's the right alignment, but nevertheless, information is always golden. It's always golden. No matter if it's not our greatest moment or finest moment, but it's always golden because you're receiving something that you normally would not hear because you don't have your boots to the ground. So your team does. So just listen to the feedback. But here's the thing that's important too, though, Andrew. There's a difference between venting and there's a difference between complaining. I make it very clear to my team. See, when you vent, it's a natural reflex. You get it off your chest, you let it go, and now we're in solution mode. But when you complain, you dwell. When you dwell, you get stuck, and when you get stuck, you block your ability to be resourceful. So, as a leader, take all the feedback, compartmentalize it, and figure out which some of the feedback is impactful and that can help push along whatever the objective is. And some of the feedback can just be noise because we're still human, right? We still relay information with our emotions, with our feelings, and with our personal experiences of what we're addressing or encountering. So don't take feedback as criticism. Take it as information that can give you insight to ways or things that you may not really be connected to.
That's
I
right.
always welcome feedback. Always welcome.
And I think you emphasized the word listen. You didn't
Yeah,
say hear what they say. You said listen. Just don't go by words. See what they're actually saying.
right. Absolutely. You got to listen. Um, you know, when sales professionals are expressing their frustration to me, I always look at their body language. I'm listening, but I look at their body language. It could just be in the moment of a challenging scenario, be a wider, bigger problem that's on the horizon that's about to hit that organization and they're not aware of it. Or it can be a mirror of someone else's frustration and it becomes like this erosion of morale. As a leader, you got to decode and decipher which is which. Because if you have a morale problem, you have an erosion problem. The morale is the engine of your team, and you have to protect it at all costs. You have to protect it at all costs. You see something that can impact the morale, you got to address it. You see a person or an individual that has feedback and comments that can impact the morale, you got to address it. You have to protect the morale of your team just as much as you protect the productivity of your team. They go hand in hand because without a healthy morale, productivity is not that impactful.
This information is so valuable. I tell you that. There's going to
Thank
be
you.
so much that's going to come out of this podcast. Okay, we're
Oh,
down to the last question. I know one of your or the most favorite person for you is probably your grandmother.
absolutely.
Tell us something that she told you that has stood the test of time that you find super useful and you're so happy that she said it to you.
Oh man, there's so many, Andrew, but
Pick the
so
best.
the best. Oh wow. So when I was a kid getting ready for school, I was always running late and I was always disheveled. Right. I was a hot mess. Right. I would run
Okay.
to, I would run to the door, ready to go to school. And she would look me in my face, look me dead in the eyes, and she'd say, JJ, when you leave this house, you represent what you stand for, and you represent your family. Go fix yourself up. And that's ingrained in me. You always got to show up. You always got to be authentically you, right? And your brand is an extension of who you are. So when you're out here in the marketplace and business organizations, you represent what you stand for, and you represent the people that you're responsible for. And you always have to keep that in mind. She always used to say, JJ, you're always on stage. You're always on stage. And that's ingrained in me. So when I show up for meetings or I lead teams on initiatives and projects, I'm representing what I stand for and what my core values are. And it's important for the audience to understand you need to determine and decide what your core values are. You can't mimic someone else's core values. You can't follow someone else's core values. It comes from within. And it's okay if they change because we change, we evolve. So when you wake up every morning before you leave the house or before you log on and go to work, you represent what you stand for, and you represent your family and the people that you're responsible for.
Wow. Never heard that before in a secular setting.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
She's my
just,
special lady. Special lady.
and what you said was inspiring, extremely inspiring.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'm going
Thank
to
you.
write that down for myself too. Thanks so much, Jay.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks for
having
doing
me.
this with us. Yeah, it was a pleasure. And
Thank
yeah,
you for you can say
anytime.
this anytime, my friend.
All right, I'll remember that.
All
I'm gonna pause now. We'll just wait for the video to download in a second.
right.